Have you ever noticed you get the same cast of characters in your classroom every year? You know, the first year you thought, I have some weird little kids in here, but I'll matriculate them out of here in June, and next year they'll be gone. Next year, same kids, different bodies. You know, same little characters come walking in, and you think, didn't I have you last year in a different body? But I say to these high school teachers, just be glad you're not an elementary school teacher. Elementary school teacher doesn't just take roll. They've got lunch money. They've got book club money. They've got milk money. They've got trip money. When you graduate, they ought to give you one of those nickel dime quarter changers that you use on a streetcar and just go around and spend the first 5 minutes. Let's see, you had the special lunch and the chocolate milk. Did you bring your $1.50 for the field trip? Just change money for the first 5-10 minutes of the period. Don't care. I have never known a bunch of kids who said, would you please have the highest standards possible so that I can turn out the maximum work this year? I've never seen that. And they have all these skills they use, you know, in order to back you down. You know, there's the eye roll. We're going to have assigned seating. 30 kids go, oh. Yes, I was.
I wasn't.
Were too. Was too. Is this a stupid conversation? And finally it boils down. Were too, was not. Were too, was not. First rule of back talk. Takes one fool to back talk. It takes 2 fools to make conversation out of it. Now, in the classroom, I call it smiley face. You say the kid's name, and the kid responds like this. Fred. You ever seen that face look back at you? Oh, let me off the hook. I'm so cute. Do you ever have a kid in your class that thought they could just skate through education by being cute? They don't follow the rules, they don't do the work, but boy, are they cute.
We all know that having a great sense of humor is good for us. A sense of humor helps keep things in perspective. Laughter matters, especially when it also helps us learn this much about ourselves and our classrooms.
Well, he's so funny to listen to, and he doesn't make you feel guilty for the past mistakes that you've made. He makes like it's okay to start.
But his humor in there, it makes us say, oh, that's me, I've done that, and laugh at ourselves. And not say, dummy, I did it wrong. But in that, yeah, we've all been there, we've all done that, and it's okay. We now have a new way. And I think that's what his humor does. It makes us comfortable, and it makes us human beings.
The reason everybody howls is because they see themselves in the situations he is describing. And it makes light of probably things that had bothered you for a long time.
When a professional development experience that truly improves the lives of its participants is also this much fun, learning has become as good as it gets.
So many people just deal in the theory of education, of discipline and instruction, but Fred gets right into the nuts and bolts and puts it in a language teachers can understand and implement into their classrooms. He makes it practical.
When I can use these strategies in the front of the gym at an assembly with 300 students and be effective, it sends a very powerful and clear message to the teachers that, yes, it can work.
And you know, this works with the toughest kids. It's not just something you can use with a kindergartner or a first grader in the school. It works for these teenagers that are in the juvenile system for some pretty serious crimes.
There's no doubt that Dr. Jones's program is very effective for 7 through 12. It can be implemented at all ages.
It makes teaching fun. It makes teaching possible. It's not hard work. You're able to have the students on task. You're able to accomplish so much in a short period of time because you're not spending your time nagging.
Welcome to your front row seat for the Tools for Teaching Video Toolbox. Your chance to experience Dr. Fred Jones for yourself.
You ever seen this in your class? Breaks your heart, doesn't it? Now the problem with this position, this is known as the beginner position, the problem with this position is that the blood drains out of your hand and it starts to go numb and then you get a pinprickly feeling all over the skin. Now what if I'm on the far side of the room and before the teacher gets to that side of the room they're going to help this kid for 3 or 4 minutes, this kid for 3 or 4 minutes, maybe another kid for 3 or 4 minutes. You get tired of holding your hand up for 10 minutes waiting to get help.
It becomes evident in just a few minutes that Dr. Jones knows what's going on in our classrooms.
So this kid's thinking, there's got to be an easier way to be a student in a classroom. And one day they look up and some kid models the answer for them. And it looks like this. You ever seen this one? This is called half-mast. And the beauty with half-mast is that the blood returns to my hand and I can hold this forever.
His classroom management system, Tools for Teaching, is based on more than 3 decades of research conducted in classrooms, his practice of psychology, and collaboration with his wife, Jo Lynn.
So early in graduate school, we're looking at a lot of parenting and a lot of behavior management and parenting skills. But Jo Lynn was teaching the whole time. In fact, she'd been teaching the year before. And so every night she would come home from school and go through the whole day. You know, we called it debriefing because that was the beginning of the space program. And that's what you did when you come back from outer space. And it was kind of an analogy. So, you know, by October, I knew all the kids, you know, frontwards and backwards and every trial and tribulation. So when I started working in classrooms, which is just kind of a natural outgrowth of working with families, Jo Lynn was part of it. In the evening, I would go home and debrief to her. And when we did our very first work with these natural teachers and learning about body language and meaning business, Jo Lynn was in on that. So she was helping the training. So from day one of this program, she's been there.
It's as though everything in Fred's life was pointing towards this. When I first met him in college, he was starring in a comedic show that he had written and produced. And we all were getting we all laughed at Fred Jones, but we also knew that he was the kid who was up for the Rhodes Scholar and all this, and so it made it even funnier. So you knew then that the things he was doing in college, studying, but also becoming this personality that he was developing, we didn't know it then, but now I look back and say everything he did in college was building towards what he's doing now.
What he's doing now is changing the lives of educators and students everywhere.
Incorporating this program into my life and my teaching is part of taking care of myself. And parents and mothers and teachers and all of us have to take care of ourselves. We have to be a little bit selfish in order to keep giving.
Dr. Jones began to study the natural teachers in 1969 at a school in the suburbs of Los Angeles.
Every kid in this school had been kicked out of Los Angeles Unified School District for emotional, behavioral, and learning problems. And the principal wanted me to kind of look around a little bit, so I walked into the first classroom. And I couldn't see any kids. They were just empty chairs, and I was a little confused because they were supposed to be in session. I looked around, and down this side of the room was a cloak closet module, and on top of the cloak closet were 9 kids looking at me, just like this. And as I was looking at the kids, the doors of the cloak closet flew open. There were an equal number of kids in the cloak closet. And they came out with clothing, jackets, hats, and they started pelting each other. And to this day, I don't know what I walked in the middle of, but they had a clothing fight. And some kid jumps off the top of the cloak closet, wrestles a kid to the floor. And up in front of this is a young male teacher having a kind of religious experience, you might say, giving his body as a sacrifice. He's standing up here doing one of these. You know, this is where you donate your dental work and your blood pressure and just about everything you have to the next generation. And I must have embarrassed the guy, so he felt he had to say something. So he says, "Group!" Now that worried me because I'd been working with groups for quite a number of years at this point. I didn't see a group process, group dynamics, group anything. And the next thing this guy says is, "I am simply going to wait until you all settle down." I looked at my watch and thought, this is November. So I went to another classroom, a young female teacher. She was having a group discussion. I could tell because everybody in the room was talking. Who do you think was talking louder than anybody else in the room? "All right, class, there's absolutely no excuse for all of this, blah, 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 blah." So I went to lunch extremely depressed, and I'd made a promise to stay. And it ended up being a career-changing day. Both of those 2 groups of kids had different teachers in the afternoon. And both of those teachers were what you would call naturals. So as the kids showed up to the room, the teacher would greet them, they would take their seat, they would start on the math assignment, one after another, until before the bell rang, you had a room full of kids sitting around doing this math assignment. Now here's what I noticed. A, the teachers weren't working very hard. B, they were relaxed and emotionally warm. C, the classroom had a very nice, warm atmosphere. I had to figure out what they were doing because these teachers were doing at no cost dozens and dozens of things we hadn't figured out yet, and whenever we figured out how to do one of these things, it cost the teacher an arm and a leg. So I went back the next day, same pattern. Went back the next day, same pattern. I got the teachers together. I complimented them. I said, this is wonderful, this is incredible. They said, oh, thank you very much. I said, how do you do that? And they said, do what? And I said, get the kids to do all these things you want them to do. Be in their seat when the bell rings, hustle during lesson transitions, take turns, act respectfully. How do you get them to do that? And the teachers thought, as one said, well, I'll tell you this much, Dr. Jones. You have to mean business. Now that sounded pretty good to me. I said, right. Now how do you do that? And they said, well, it starts on the very first day of school, Dr. Jones. Now, either that classroom will belong to them or it will belong to you, and God help you if it belongs to them. What I want to know is, what do you do? Imagine I'm a substitute teacher standing in front of this group tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning. You obviously have them in a groove. Now, I don't want to lose it. So here I am, standing in front of your group. It's 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. What do I do? They thought for a minute and said, well, I can tell you this much, Dr. Jones. You had better mean business. And on that day, I learned something that was verified over and over again in the coming months and years, and that is that these natural teachers could not tell me what they were doing if their lives depended on it.
Fred understands how people learn. And that's what all of his approaches are about, is how do we learn? And what's the most effective way. And it doesn't matter whether it's that toddler or it's as an adult and how we learn. There's some consistent things that we find everywhere. And so when he structures his training, he does it the same way. He thinks about those principles, and he helps us achieve understanding of those principles by presenting it, by telling stories that have meaning to us where we can see ourselves.
Designed to complement tools for teaching, the Video Toolbox brings each chapter of the book and the study guide to life. The Video Toolbox is the next best thing to attending one of Dr. Jones' workshops.
But his humor still comes out in those tapes. And if I can teach it for like, I don't know how many times, 20 times, and I still watch the tapes. I don't sleep through them. I watch it and I laugh along with everybody else. So it's still, you don't quite have the presence of Fred, but he is there on the videotape, and the positiveness is still there, and the humor is still there, and I think it's an exciting course to take, even though it's on videotape. So I just want to encourage people to do that, to give it a try and see if they don't feel better about their teaching.
And I think teaching should be fun. I think he's trying to model for the rest of the teachers that you can do some pretty amazing, serious stuff, but you don't have to be long in the face and be the ornery schoolmarm with whacking kids with a ruler. You can enjoy teaching, and that's probably what he's bringing or showing a lot of people, that even in these days of high stress teaching and state tests and all that you can enjoy teaching. You can have a sense of humor. You can actually like going to work every day.
Creating tools for teaching has been a dedicated family effort. Son Patrick helped in the writing of the book and production of the series.
So after he had several years of teaching under his belt at the high school level, we were ready to start this book, and we needed help, and he was kind of ready for a change, and just all was natural. Then a year later, Brian graduates from the Art Institute, and here we are in the book production.
Son Brian is responsible for all of the cartoons.
He'd been a cartoonist his whole life. He would come home from 4th grade and just cartoon until dinner time. We have cartoons he did when he was 4 or 5 years old. I mean, the reason that we're putting this on video is just a struggle to be visual, because a picture's worth 1,000 words.
The videos illustrate the key elements of instruction, motivation, and discipline, which occur simultaneously in the classroom setting. The key elements that define working smart instead of working hard.
It's just the natural perspective when you see how tired teachers are at the end of the day. And I come from, a family of teachers. I know how tired teachers are at the end of the day. And I know that you can't finish up the day that way, day after day after day, without finally losing your enthusiasm, losing your energy level. I know teachers for whom teaching is actually invigorating. And most teachers will just laugh and roll their eyes and say, yeah, right. But there are teachers like that. And it's not because of some, divinely given gift. It's because they really get the job done with a minimum of stress, a minimum of hassle. They train the kids to cooperate, and so they're not pushing and pulling all day long to get things done.
I implemented everything he taught us, and I went home at night and I went, wow. I wasn't tired or frustrated because I was trying to plan the next day how I was going to discipline the children. I was planning the next day how I was going to teach the children all these projects that I'm supposed to be teaching them. And it was very relaxing. And I looked forward to each day, and I looked forward to the evening because I wasn't so frustrated. It works. It really works.
Every day I'm using a strategy that has been outlined by Fred, but now you see, I'm thinking they're mine. They're no longer Fred Jones strategies, they're Aisling Dean strategies, because now you can't even separate what's Fred Jones and what's mine, because you add things to what he does in the classroom as well.
The videos model instructional practices which make learning interactive, while helping to replace learned helplessness with independent learning.
So here these kids playing this helpless hand raiser game, and what do they get for it? Well, they get to ace 25 other kids out of having your undivided, helping, caring, loving, nurturing attention, the most powerful reinforcer in the classroom. Which is to say that the most widespread learning disability in American education is not in your alphabet soup of special ed disabilities. The most widespread learning disability is learned helplessness, because no other disability is occurring at a rate of 5 per classroom nationwide. It's an epidemic, and it will work you to death, because every time you teach a lesson, you'll have to teach it 5 more times. And during that time, you'll lose the group because you can't work a crowd. You'll reinforce this helpless behavior, and the kid will fall further and further and further behind. All I want you to do is look at that and ask yourself, does that look like what my 5th grade teacher put on the board when I was a kid? Because that's exactly what my teacher put on the board. And my teacher had a name for it. It wasn't a technical name. My teacher called it my example on the board. As in the following lesson transition. And I'll be coming around to see how you're doing, class. Now, if you're having any difficulty, I want you to look at my example on the board, work through the steps, try to figure it out on your own. If, however, you're still having difficulty, you may raise your hand. I'll be around to help you as soon as I can. So far, so good? Okay, Jason, you're stuck on step 5. Which one is that? Oh, wait. Everybody do what I just asked Jason to do. Everybody, find step 5 for me, will you, please? That's enough. What are you doing? People doing it in your head and counting the steps? Well, the only kid that'll ever find step 5 is the one that's already memorized the task analysis, has achieved mastery, and will never need my help again. That is to say, that looked normal to me because I grew up with it. The only reason I looked at it again is because the teachers kept getting pulled back by the little helpless hand raisers who said, yeah, but I don't understand. And I looked at that and I looked at this. Yeah, but I don't understand. And I looked at that and looked at this. And finally, one day I looked at that, and for the first time in my life, I saw what was implied by this graphic. That looks like a visual aid, right? Like it illustrates what I just said. No, it's not. It's the destruction of the visual modality. When I add step 2, 1 disappears. When I add 3, 1 and 2 are gone. When I add 4, 1 through 3 are gone. When I add 5, 1 through 4 are gone. When I add 6, 1 through 5 are gone. So when I'm done, I don't have anything for you to follow. I've destroyed the map. You can't follow it anymore. If I only had 5 minutes for a workshop, I'd teach you VIPs, visual instructional plans. picture for every step, because that is the quickest, simplest thing that accelerates learning, accelerates understanding, and eliminates helplessness that I've ever seen. And in addition to being indispensable in the weaning process, it just gets results tomorrow. Back into the lesson. All right, let me have your eyes up here, class. On to the next step. 6 into 495. We can't take the 6 into 4, class. Can we take 6 into 49? Can we? Yes. All right. That means we can divide by taking 6 into 49, class. And how many times does 6 go into 49? 8. Put it right there. On to the next step. 6 into 495. Eyes up here, class. Hands ready? Here we go. 6 into 4. Can you do that? No. Both hands. Let me see it. Can you? No. 6 into 49. Can you? Yes. How many times? 8. After we divide, we? Multiply. Let's multiply. 8 times 6 is what, class? 48. Put it right there. On to the next step. 6 into 495. Eyes up here. Let's go. 6 into 4. Can you? No. Both hands. Can you? No. 6 into 49. Can you? Yes. How many times? 8. After we divide, we? Multiply. 8 times 6 is? 48. Next we? Subtract. Let's subtract, class. 9 take away 8 is? 1. 4 take away 4 is? 0. All right, that's far enough. You see what's happening? What I'm doing is drawing a set of plans, just like the model airplane company. One step at a time, a picture for every step.
Say, see, and do, that's very powerful. Teach to the eye, not to the ear.
Discipline management practices focus on building classroom structure that make cooperation and responsible behavior a matter of routine, even from the most difficult students. Join us for Dr. Jones' Mock Freshman Assembly, a speech that never really happens, of course, as he describes how most school discipline codes and backup systems reinforce rather than deter faculty abuse.
Here's a statistic. At any school site in North America, 95% of the office referrals are produced by 5% of the student body. Let me give those students a name so you may identify yourselves. Delinquents. You know who you are, too. 95% of the office referrals. I want you all come down forward. You know who you are. Get on down forward here. Delinquents, sit down, listen up, and listen up straight. We're not putting up with it. That's the message for today. We're not putting up with it. On the other hand, we love children. We're not going to cut you right off at the knees. We're going to cut you a little bit of slack. Because I know a lot of you jokers, you know, you make mistakes like use foul language, start a fight, tell a teacher to do an unnatural act, drop a lighted match in a wastebasket. You pull one stunt like that the first time, we will give you a verbal warning. Now, it is our sincere hope that you repent right there on the spot. But maybe I'm getting cynical. Maybe I've been in this business too long. Most of you jokers are sitting there thinking, oh, a verbal warning. I'm shaking in my boots. You pull another stunt. I'll tell you what we'll do. We will assign you detention after school. Now, this is a little honor system we have around here where we take a kid who told their third period teacher to go bleep themselves and put them on their honor to come back at the end of the school day and do time. Now, frequently, believe it or not, we have been stiffed on this program. Doggone kid didn't show up. Is this it? They just keep sending me out of algebra class down to the office? Oh, no, it is not. You pull one more stunt around here and I'll tell you what we'll do. We will suspend you from this school for a period of 24 hours. Now, let me explain exactly what that means. For a period of 24 hours, you will be denied all of the following privileges: mathematics, social studies, English composition, U.S. history, world government, and gym class. Don't come to the library trying to check out books for the work you've lost, because you have lost library privileges. Of course, now, we don't have people on the payroll to supervise this program, so we send you home to be supervised by the most incompetent parents in the county. So by the grapevine, we find out what goes on. Sleep late, watch TV, play Nintendo, shoot some hoops, meet your friend, and end up at the mall. Now, after 24 hours of this total deprivation, I hope we have brought you up short. But once a delinquent, always a delinquent. That's the way it looks to me, anyway. You keep pushing, I'll tell you what we'll do. We will send you home for 3 days. Let me ask you something. Does this sound as nuts to you as it does to me?
I see a lot of teachers that come to my office and they're in tears. They're burnt out. They have only taught for a year or two. They're frustrated. And the bottom line is they want to do what's right for kids. They want to be the best teacher they can be, but a lot of times they're spinning their wheels trying to find out what really works.
It makes me excited. It makes me want to share it with someone, because I hear other teachers raising voices, finger pointing, all of these pheasant posturing things that Fred talks about. And I think you don't have to discipline like that. Discipline can be consistently warm and positive in your classroom, and you can feel good about being there. Your children can feel good about being there with you. So it's a discipline method that I found that works, and I actively use it.
The management of motivation focuses on helping students to internalize values of hard work and conscientiousness. By implementing the Tools for Teaching system of classroom management, you can reduce stress and overwork.
To think that I had been teaching only 9 years and I was grinding my teeth at night and I had the stomach aches and, you know, my heart was racing at the end of the day, and that frightened me to see that those were long-term health risks that you were taking, enough to make me say, something's got to give here. I want to stay in this for the long run.
Calm is strength, upset is weakness, and if you deal with things from a position of calm, you use that part of your brain, which is the human part as opposed to the animal part. It's more rational, and you can think through to the problems and deal with the problems as they come along. Very, very critical.
We're always on our toes with 30 different kids. I have 150 kids total every day that I see, all these different attitudes, all these different moods, and it's a really simple way of dealing with all of them. And not only that, but like the biggest key for me is being calm in myself.
While also reducing sloppy and incomplete work from your students and the amount of paper grading you take home every night.
There was one thing that really made me dread my job, and that was paper grading. I would take home papers and grade them every night. I would take papers on weekend trips with me, grading papers constantly. And that was the one thing I found out that is not only ineffective, but it's eating into my personal time. So paper grading is almost zero at this point, and it's made me fall in love with my job again.
You can reduce dawdling and helpless hand raising, office referral, and parent conferences.
I also felt that it helped me with dealing with parents. 3 years in my years at the junior high, I dealt in dealing with discipline. I worked in the office, and I was the person that the kids came to see when they got in trouble. And you have to deal with their parents. And so learning about the back talk, learning about calm as strength, it transfers right into dealing with adults too.
While at the same time reducing student disruptions and back talk.
Same scene. Here we go. Margaret, I'd like you to turn around and get some work done.
I was getting my work done. I'm sitting here getting my work done. What? I got 15 problems done on my paper already. I just turned for a second. I mean, come on. I got my work done. Whatever. What?
Stop. You started to repeat yourself and then gave up. Let me ask you, which was easier for you to handle? The first one or the second one? The first one. Piece of cake, because I just kept feeding you lines, and all you had to do was play off of them. Now you're doing a monologue. Pretty soon you start running out of material. And that's what you experienced on that exercise we did.
It was hard to contain yourself and maintain your composure because you wanted to react and laugh, because there it was, the smiley face or the back talk, the reactions to what you're trying to do. But to very quickly recognize the effect and the power of just a few simple changes to what you already were doing was quite empowering.
When we say positive classroom management, that what we're talking about here is preserving the dignity of a human being. And as teachers, we want to be enablers in a positive sense. We want to be enlighteners, and we want to send our kids away feeling good about who they are, because if they feel good about who they are today, it means a lot more than just whether they learned that math problem or not, and I think that's the most worthwhile part of the program.
You can increase your students' rate of learning conscientiousness, cooperation, and sense of responsibility.
There's so much focus on standards and on excellence, and the most direct approach to it is in the teaching of the lesson. What you would like to do is teach the lesson so that the kids get it right the first time, practice it so that they have some habit strength, and walk away really having performance under their belt. There's only one way to do that, and that is to slow it down and teach it one step at a time. Input, output, input, output.
While also increasing your ability to handle any situation and your success with hard-to-reach students.
And it was great for them. I mean, the teacher felt great, the students felt great, the relationships built, and it was a tough thing to do with those students. They hadn't had a lot of positive relationships with teachers before. But the end result was both people, teachers and students, feeling very, very good about it.
It just gets exciting because you're helping people. You're helping kids, you're helping each other, you're making life better for everyone. And that's what we all saw. Fred is protecting everyone in this method, helping us all succeed.
And best of all, increase your time for learning and enrichment.
I feel good about getting new material. This is my 20th year, and this is my first in-service like this that's really given me something I can take back to the classroom and use.
Well, we really have decided that if we are really going to make this work, we have to do it as a team effort. And so as a whole department, we want to incorporate it across the entire teacher education curriculum and see how everything fits together.
I really wish that everybody could be trained in Fred Jones methods, because I think it's really, really helpful. A lot of times we get hired and they just throw us into the classroom and we have to learn, through mistakes, unfortunately. And I think that it would really be helpful if the universities had this as a course, because, even though they're common sense to, veteran teachers, it might not be common sense to somebody that's new to the classroom. And I think this would really be helpful.
This gives the teacher tools not to be confrontational, but to be positive, to be fair, to be very concise with the students, but at the same time the student feels liked, they feel appreciated, they feel cared for, and you just see some real attitudes change, and here's some nice compliments coming back from kids and parents that didn't feel a part of the process. Now they do.
It would be my wish that every teacher, school board member, President of the United States, watch Fred and listen to him very carefully, that if all of us could be this type of a role model for children all the way through, from kindergarten through high school, and we could follow this, we could make a difference even in parenting with these kids.
We're going to be able to say to you pretty easily with the book and the videotapes, yes, this is going to be worth your time, and it's going to change the way you feel at the end of the day. And it's going to keep you coming back next year and the year after with a fresh look at your classes. So that, to be able to do that for someone that then helps the children that they're going to teach not this year but every year for the next 15 years is really an important part of what our career is about, what our lives have been devoted to. And I think part of the thing that we've always been involved with is not just what are the good ideas, but how do you translate those and decode them so that others can use them? And then the next part is, how do you help each other work with these ideas?
The Tools for Teaching Video Toolbox.